This was a fire that if there was nobody in it and we went in, we'd have went 2 feet, thrown some water, watched it do nothing, got out and went defensive. And I'm not a defensive fire guy. But with people in it, I knew we were not going to do that. I'm not. I tell my guys about your mindset. You have to have a mindset prior to these things happening. And, I've told them my set is, if there's 1% chance there's somebody viable and there's 99% chance I'm going to get incinerated, we're going in. So that was happening. And I was like, well, we're not coming out without these people. We're not coming out. But knowing that, I'm like, I don't know if we're coming out, And so that wasn't good. As soon as I went down to the basement by myself, I'm like, this is going to go bad. And obviously when we hit that flashover, I didn't think we were going to make it through that. And then I was mad because I was going to get burned from the top of my head down, which I thought was excessive punishment. I mean, you think you might go down, but I'm like literally the top of my head down. So I remember that. That made it difficult. Communications were difficult. It was a new crew. Luckily, they were excellent, but, it's not your normal station. It's not your normal crew. A lot of that stuff fell in line, but just the stress of it was excessive compared to any other runs I've had. The amount of fire was excessive because of the broken windows all around the house. The neighbors trying to do the right thing. They're trying to help, but just, flow patterns and everything, it just ignited the place. Multiple people trapped, something I hadn't encountered in my career, 23 some years. I had to make a lot of decisions very, very quickly, life or death. I didn't like that I had to choose between going for the girl on the first floor or the 2 in the basement, because you're kind of playing God at that time, but that still bothers me. It's brutal. I mean, every day I've thought about the fire most days since it, Is there a way that we could have got all 3 out? I never have come up with one. I really think we did about everything we could do. I think we did a really good job getting the 2 we got out. But, firemen don't become firemen to save most of the people in a house. 2 out of 3 is not good for me. We're supposed to save them all, in my opinion. So that bothers me. I didn't like having to make that choice, but it's part of the thing. I'd have liked to got all 3 out. Just knowing the situation, knowing we had 3 people in there, that when I first went in and saw the amount of heat, the amount of fire, I never had an imminent sense of kind of doom, like, man, this is really bad. And it's not going to get better because we're not like leaving the building anytime soon. That was one. Going down those steps, knowing what was happening on that first floor, no visibility. It was a big basement. I'm like, there's a great chance this is going to collapse on me. If Tom wasn't up there, we were going to lose the egress, so I was hoping he was going to hang in, which he did. But if he didn't, we're done. If the water supply stopped, we're done. There's just too many variables that were bad at that time. So going down the basement, I thought for sure no good. And then, like I said, coming up, everything kind of changed. Everything was positive. I'm like, wow, nailed it. And then just immediately, as soon as we hit the top of the stairs, hit that heat, all that chaos happened. And then when the flashover happened and my head was burning, and I was lost. I didn't think that was gonna. I think we were making out of that. And I was really upset about the people. I'm laying on them. Your job's to get them out. And here we are in a hump. The heat eating however many 1,000 degrees. People were kind of celebrating getting those 2 people out, but to me, I was like, well, number one, they're heavily injured. I wasn't down with that, and we lost one. And like I told you, I go, somebody, I think it was family or somebody asked me, like, how's it feel, to save 2 people, and get 2 people out of the building. I go, it feels like I should have got 3. We see a lot of death, day to day, just not traumatic like that, but you become numb to it, so especially in our group, you really focus on like, wow, this guy saved somebody. But when it's you, I found, like I said, I think about the one I didn't. It's great we got those 2 out. That's our job. That's what we do. I don't like when people say the word hero, because if you look it up, it's unexpected bravery. Well, we're expected. When you call me a hero, to me, it's an insult. Like, we're professional. That's what, we train. I don't want to be a heroic firefighter. I want to be a professional firefighter. So, to me, we're supposed to save them all somehow. I don't know how. I think it was over for her before we got there, but that's just not the standard. Yeah, for a year I had a real heightened awareness of when fire runs would come in. Still not so much now, where I would literally feel my blood pressure rise, and you get this, you put your turnouts on. That lasted a good year, but to this day, I don't take many runs lightly. There's complacency is down for me. Training, there's certain things that I go back to that fire. I'm pretty nitpicky about water supply, things that we kind of take for granted. I was a driver, and I certainly wanted to be able to hit a hydrant, get a water supply, and flow water quickly. But now, because of that run, I understand that if that FEO, who was excellent, didn't get that water there in probably like 3 minutes, we wouldn't have brought that line in because there wasn't time. We just went in on our own. So both of us would have went to the basement. It would have flashed away sooner. Nobody comes out. But I remember looking at it. I remember looking where I fell for my Mayday, and I was like, oh, it's just crazy. It was 4 feet from the door, but that's normally, people die a foot from their exit all the time. So I remember seeing that, and then you saw the bedroom, because you couldn't see any of that, obviously, the day of. So we were looking at that, and so that was interesting, to see the layout once you after. But that's what I remember. I remember just the amount of damage. The outside window had blood on it because the dad tried to pull that girl out, and she got cut on the windows, and there was a V of blood, and then she fell back in, and it was kind of horrible. Well, one of the worst parts about the whole thing was just arriving on scene and having to make a choice between, going to the first floor for the one girl or going to the basement for the two people down there. We had to go one way or the other. It was a split-second decision at the time, but, it was automatic because everything made sense to get the two people that were more viable and all that. But since, that's something I'm aware of, it's just something that heightens your senses now when I'm going to fires. That now I'm aware, that, but now once you've done it, you know that, and so you're more prepared. Not that we weren't, but mentally, I guess, that, we're going to make some tough choices here, coming up if this goes bad. I kind of prepare my guys more on the way to fires, I think now, because of that fire, let them know exactly what's going on, what we're going to do. I tell them, like I said, about our mindset prior to even the first day we work together. Just, hey, this is what's going on, expect this. If this isn't good for you, then, you're going to have to go elsewhere. We're building our peer support team. We're getting rid of the stigmas associated with, critical incidents and all that. I think our department is doing very well at that. It started with our union, of course, because basically prior to getting a peer support team up, your executive board is your peer support team. I was on the board for 10 years, 5 years as president, and before we had peer support, and even I'm sure even after, you're the call. If somebody's got a personal problem at work, you're the peer supporter. So we've been doing this all along, but now we're getting to where we're getting clinicians, we're getting more resources, we're getting more training to where now when they come to you, instead of just like winging it, and now we're getting to a point, at our department anyway, we have a specific SOG, and we're more able to facilitate these kind of cries for help, instead of just telling them, when I hired on, obviously, it was just suck it up, we're good. We're moving away from after runs saying, you okay, to more now it's like, man, that was messed up, because it's more accepting of an answer. If you say you're okay, it's almost like a challenge. Everybody's going to say they're okay, but if you just kind of say like, man, that was messed up, most of the time guys are like, yeah, that was messed up, you kind of break the ice. So That's what we've been doing, trying to get the whole department on board, the cities on board, get more clinicians. We work with our EAP, our Employee Assistance Program, really to direct them to professionals, And, but I think the big thing we've done, and it started on the union side of things, of course, is really removing the stigma of it. We had a guy off with post-traumatic stress, and he was off duty, and they considered it an on-the-job injury, which was great. And he got help, and he's back. But he was kind of our pioneer, he was kind of a hero in his own right that he was strong enough to make that step. And then other guys saw it, and they're like, oh, okay, that's okay. The culture of firefighters is steeped in tradition. It's very tight. It's a brotherhood. We depend on each other for our lives. Even if I don't like a guy and he doesn't like me, we know that that's not going to matter. We'll trade our lives for each other. And then even though we don't think about that every day, it's in our subconscious, and it's not uncommon for guys to hire on, and a year later they're standing up in somebody's wedding. They just met a year ago, but they're in the fire department. So that's what happens. If you want to set up a good peer support program in your department, it starts with your city. It starts with your chief. You need to proactively approach them and tell them, these are problems we're having. You got to say, we need help. We don't mind coming in every day, leave my family, maybe I don't come home. That's what we do. But you need to help us on the other end of this. We got guys that are, being exposed to, children being hurt, death, constant. And we just want some resources, maybe it's not even a high cost, but at least, a lot of departments and cities have their own employee assistance program. Let us talk to them. Let's build something together. Get your chief on board. He's got to come, and if he wants to be in charge of a healthy, productive workforce, it isn't all about just lifting weights. If they're mentally broke, nobody's lifting any weight. So you got to go after your, fire chiefs need to step up. We found that there's been a specific benefit to peer supporters. It's one thing to send somebody to the doctor, the shrink, or whatever you want to call them. But like I said, it's a camaraderie, it's a brotherhood or sisterhood, and that's an outsider. Even if you know who they are, that's an outsider. When you have guys inside, even from other departments, it can be a firefighter or a police officer, you can relate. They have credibility. And, we let our guys know that, everything's confidential, unless you're going to hurt yourself or somebody else. And our job is just to point you to the right resource. You can always talk to us and everything and get things off your chest, no problem. But our end goal is to say, like, okay, I think you'd really benefit from going to the EAP and just having a meeting. We'll set it up, and guys have embraced that. When we go to work, our significant others have to pretty much be a single parent. Everybody's got different situations. If you have kids, dogs, whatever it is, we go away 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row if we're working overtime or whatnot, or depending on how your shift's set up. And we kind of take for granted they're just stuck at home, So they're running the kids to the soccer games. They're, the hot water heater breaks. They're the ones that got to go down there, and it's god awful to talk to your wife or significant other and try to explain certain tasks that you find easy, but I'm trying how to change a filter in the furnace. It's unbearable. So you're trying to be calm, but it's difficult, and they have to do all that stuff. They're handling all the people coming to the house. They're handling the dishes, and then they're handling the cleaning. Like I said, they're basically a single parent. And then and you come home, and then they have to deal with your kids. They're like, oh, I missed you, and here's Dad, and they're probably like, so now I'm second rate. They deal with that. It's a lot for them to handle, and you better know that if you want to have a happy marriage, to try to make up for it a little bit, which sometimes is hard because, like I said, we're tired, we're beat up, we had a bad run, we had a bad day, and it's hard to be that, what you needed to be. Just the emphasis on get something going, get something at your department, anything, start somewhere. If you can't get your city to do it in your union. you can have a peer support committee in your union and go through that. Use your union resources. IFF has a ton of resources. Use them. Ask around. Ask other departments. Get something in place. And once you build something, at least then next time you're in negotiations or something, you have something to sell. Hey, we've been doing this on the union side of things. We got a lot of guys coming up to us. We can't handle everything they're bringing to us. These guys need some help, and we need you to help us help your employees, and put them on the spot. Bring up litigation. It always usually works for me. I would say, I don't want somebody to kill themselves and come to us to sue you guys because you didn't do anything. So let's work together to put something in place.